architect Nuru Inyangete, the Executive Director and Partner of Epitome Architects Limited. We have architect Subira Mchumo, Managing Director of Design Studio Limited. We have architect Dr. Isabella Mtani. She's the head of Interior Design and Landscape Architecture Department at Arithi University. And we also have architect Violet Mafue. She's the Managing Director of Space Consult Architects Limited. So without wasting much more time, I think I would like to invite architect Violet Mafue to share a bit of your story. And while you're sharing your story, maybe you could also touch on the role that mentors have played in to shape your career in architecture.
Hi, everyone. May I correct you, Vicky? I'm not the managing director, I'm the director.
Thanks. I will take note of that. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Vicky saw me when I was in first year, Arithi University. And today, I'm among the role models. So I will share a lot in my journey. I'll be in detail, and I want the mentors to listen very careful, because I started like the way they were, but today I can say something. I started Arithi University 2003, and I completed Bachelor of Architecture 2007. After my Bachelor of Architecture, I joined, my first employment was at Mekon as consult to Dr. Mkonyi, the architect. So I practiced there for 6 years. And from Dr. Mkonyi, I gained the specialization in healthcare design, hospital design. It's where my journey started. When Dr. Isabella was my supervisor for this dissertation. I joined Mekon. I found her as a senior architect. So I was mentored by Isabella also. Then in 2013, I started my master for architecture in hospital design. So from the experience I got from Dr. Mkonyi, the Italian government announced the scholarship for Sub-Saharan region students who want to study in Italy, Master of Architecture for Healthcare Design. So I compete the scholarship, and I was among the winner. And I went for 1 year to study Masters of Architecture. In Italy, I met the coordinator of the program, Francesca Joffre. She's an architect, and she was a professor in architecture. Because when I reached in Italy, my confidence was very low. It was my first time to go abroad. It was my first time to go to Europe. It was my first time of everything. So it's a place where I gained my confidence. She was a kind of a teacher who will want you to explore, not only studying. She wanted you to explore. She wanted creativity. She wants you to be to observe, to analyze, to have a good presentation. So in Italy, it's where I gained a lot of creativity and how to prepare a good presentation. Then I came back to Tanzania because I stayed in at Mekon concert for past 5 years. So it was my 6th year at Mekon. Then I was tired of designing. I wanted something different. Now I met Professor Lema, he was my client. I was doing his work. Then he asked me if I can join his company. He had the big project. He wanted the architect to help in supervising the project. Then I joined. I left Mekon at Consult. Then I joined CPI International. It is an engineering firm. They are doing more of the project management. So I joined Professor Lema from 2014 to 2019. So CPI International, I was specific supervising the projects. I was the project manager. I supervised eco-residence in Kinondoni. It's where I met Nuru Nyangete. Nuru Nyangete was the architect of the project. And I was the project manager from CPI International. So it is where I saw Nuru. She had a lot of confidence. She was very aggressive. And I liked the way she's working. The project was very successful. Then also I did the Victoria Place. Victoria Place is a national housing project at Victoria. Most of people know the building. It was in my flyer. Also, I was doing the Golden Tower at Ikawe. The project have stopped. Also from CPI International, I was doing CRDB headquarters at Upanga. In all these projects, I met Nuru and I met Subiram Chumo. Subiram Chumo was among the board member of National Housing. It's where I saw them. I've been hearing about them, but Subira, I knew him before because he was our lecture guest for interior design. But from National Housing Project is where I saw her, and she was very confident, very aggressive. She's so much exposed. So all these women made me that think women can do in Tanzania, because I've never seen women in architecture in Tanzania. They have maybe big companies, they are doing big projects. They are the people who inspired me very well. So from all this, I appointed Professor Lema as my main mentor. He mentored me. I through all these projects, I've been doing a lot of works with him. Then in 2019, 2017, architect Ibon Fast Kazoba asked me to join as the architect as his partner. Then I asked him, let me think about it. In 2019, I confirmed and I joined him. Then I asked my mentor that I'm shifting from CPI International and join Space Architect as the director and partner. And my mentor was happy about it. What he told me, that is growth. So go, you have enough experience from our office, go and grow and do big things. Then I joined Space Architect in 2019. When I joined Space Architect, I was still in touch with my mentor, Professor Lema. You know, He's an engineer. Project from my current office, it's the one I got it from my mentor.
Thank you.
That's it. Yeah.
Thank you very much,
Thank you very
Violet.
much.
Thank you for your interesting story and inspiration. Questions will come later. For now, let me welcome another, second panelist, which is Architect Subira. Karibu, Architect Subira.
Asante sana, Architect Bahati Zongo. Sijui tunazungumza kwa Kiswahili au kwa Kiingereza au tunaweza kumix. Okay, so I will start by just mentioning that when I was growing up, my interest was really to work for the United Nations. Believe it or not, I was so inspired by international relations. I was so inspired by humanitarian work. Kwa hiyo architecture came really much later on in my life as I was learning about what I could pursue after doing my my high school, or as I was doing my high school diploma, because we kept on being told that, oh, you must think about what you're going to do at university. So honestly, by the time I was applying to universities, I was somehow confused, and I really started then to learn more about architecture through my love of interior design. So I attended the University of Strathclyde, and I want to share a short story about how I got there. I was torn up between luckily I had a few options, but in those many options, I was late in applying for universities. So by the time I went to the UK, they had already selected applicants, and I was somehow on a waiting list. And luckily, I got to know Nuru in Nyangete through, it's a long story, and through connection and connections, but somehow she had attended a very good university called University of Strathclyde, and she really recommended that I look into that. And so I started researching more, and I made an application to the University of Strathclyde, and luckily I was accepted last minute. So from then on, Nuru was my sister. You know, every time I got into issues, I was stuck. You know, when you're doing concept designing, whatever, I could call Nuru. And Nuru, I think at that time was just finishing her BAc, or she had just finished her BAc. So she was actually doing the year out, the final year out. So that was really a handy starting point for me. So I jumped straight into architecture. I received the Bachelor of Science in Architecture, and eventually the postgraduate diploma in architecture, which basically allowed me to proceed to work, do the year out experience. And so, but all the time between 1992 and 1996, during my studies, I was working part-time during the holidays with a firm called Ian Patty Associates, who had their offices in London. And why I'm mentioning this is because that really shaped me as a young student. It was very important. I saw how architects worked. Initially, the first year, obviously, I didn't know much, so I was very much responsible for sketch designing, responsible for library organization. But through all that, I got to know what architects do, interior designers do. I went to site. So that was, I got a exposure much early in my career. So when I was at Ian Patty Associates, some of the projects we completed included the Theatre Square development, which is at St. Peter's. I don't know what it's called now, I forgot. But that was also a big project at that time in Tanzania. In London, I was involved in much smaller projects, pub designs, but for a student, that was very exciting. So I was really passionate about the renovation projects, as small as they were. And 1998, after finishing my fifth year at university, I came back to Tanzania, and I started working for Symbion in Tanzania. Symbion had offices throughout East Africa. And some of the work that we're involved in included Kibo breweries at that time. And that was very challenging and extremely eye-opening in the market at that time. So I gained a lot of experience, and they trusted me to basically run with those projects. In 2000, when I did my professional exams at end of 1999 in Tanzania, and immediately, like January 2000, I decided I was strong enough to open my own firm. But obviously, all the while seeking advice from various people who've been already in practice. I formed Studio 7 with a partner, and we, among projects that we worked on, our first project I remember was a rollout for Vodacom, all the Vodashop shops at that time in 2000. That was quite exciting. It exposed me to Mwanza, you know, the different areas, Mwanza, Arusha, Mbeya. So I also got to travel throughout the country, and also went to South Africa for that. And then other projects followed, and our partnership unfortunately saw some challenges, which resulted in the dissolving of that company. And that was an extremely difficult period for me, not only as a young architect trying to make a living in Tanzania, but also as a female architect in a very male-dominated environment. However, I was lucky in 2008, and now I'm gonna touch a little bit on my mentoring history, etc. I was selected to participate in an international mentoring program, which was organized by the US Embassy. And how they came to know me is because somehow I ended up winning some sort of a, let's just say a request for proposal, or yeah, to work on their recreation center. No, before that, actually, I did this CDC building for Nimri. This was also funded by the US government. So they identified me as a potential person that could be exposed to more leadership skills. And I was hooked up with the Fortune 500 companies in the US. But my company was really Herman Miller. And Herman Miller are a furniture production company. And that was the closest they came to linking me up with a company that's more associated with any sort of design field. But at Herman Miller, I got a mentor who was the vice president of Herman Miller, and she was just an amazing woman. Even though she was not an architect, she managed to put me in touch with many, many architects who were working with Herman Miller to design various offices and various design projects that they had. So she also got me to attend the American Institute of Architects annual, let's say, convention, which was in Boston. And that also exposed me to a lot of architects as a young architect, and a lot of projects, and how, you know, people are able to network and connect, etc. So my mentoring experience started from there, really, like a formalized mental experience, even though I have, and I've always maintained an informal mentoring experience with Nuru. It has not been formal, but I know she's always been there. And every time, you know, I want to cry with regards to how do I move forward, that has been somebody that I could always run to and get solid advice. So what I want to also touch on a little bit from my experience is that I was bold enough to run and compete for various leadership positions in our Architects Association of Tanzania. A lot of female architects unfortunately shy away from taking up leadership positions. We remain in the background, we complain. But between 2005, 2007, I served as the first female president of Architects Association of Tanzania. After that, I became the chairperson of East Africa Institute of Architects. That was a rotational role, but I can tell you that it stirred up quite a few feathers, especially from our brothers in Kenya, because at that time they were all men, and they just couldn't understand how Tanzania could have a female president of Architectural Association, let alone now coming to East Africa and actually running the institution. So that was an experience. Board membership, I think, as you have seen, I've been trusted enough to serve under various boards. I've also lectured part-time at the university, the Arad University in interior design, and some of my students, as Violet said, some of them, I'm seeing them thriving into very, very successful architects. So that's very fulfilling for me. What I'm trying to say is that I keep thriving for knowledge. I keep thriving for recognition, even now as 21, 22 years after registration. I'm now trying to pursue registration in the European Union. It's challenging, but I'm slowly pursuing that. I've also managed to register as a member of the Royal Institute of British Architects, just so that I get recognition and I'm able to work and I'm able to network and get exposure and be able to give back. So that's my brief history. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Architect Subiram Chumo. This is so much interesting. I see it's sinking in. I'm sure there are a lot of people who would love to ask questions, but we'll come later to that. Meanwhile, I would like to welcome Dr. Architect Isabella.
Thank you very much, Architect Bahati Zongo, for the opportunity to share my mentoring journey with others in the industry. I'm a registered architect for 16 years now, working in partnership with local and international consultants on various projects. I'm also an employee of the other university. Their architects are practicing under the university firm, ABEC, and that's where I'm practicing, but I'm also a graduate of the other university. I graduated there in year 2001 after a long journey and criticism from some of my family that I won't make it in architecture, but I worked hard throughout 5 years. It's a 5-year course. I was with Vicky in the same class, Dr. Vicky. Actually, when I was in high school, my expectation was to study business at the UDism, but later on, I got convinced by my uncle to join architecture, and then I don't regret being an architect. So I was enrolled on that degree in 1996 and graduated in 2001, and we were the first class receiving Bachelor of Architecture from the other university. By then it was UCLAS, University College of Land and Architectural Studies. So the guidance, perspective, and knowledge shared with my mentors and colleagues has been immeasurable for the progression of my profession. Unfortunately for me, I don't know, I can say unfortunately, but for me, these relationships were not facilitated through formal mentorship program. So what you Tower are doing is very good for our young architects. Rather, at the time, I considered these individuals to be my employee, colleague, and friends. It was not until later in practice that I realized how lucky I was to get involved with such great mentors. If it were not for the guidance and help from these caring mentors I had throughout my professional growth, I would have been up on my inspiration of being architect long ago, because it was not my dream when I joined the university. But before being employed at the university where I'm working now, I worked for 5 years with Mekon Arch Consult under the mentorship of Dr. Moses Elisante Mkonyi. He's quite a guy Mkonyi gives all his mentee freedom to learn, and that's the good part of it when you are a hard-working person. But if you are a lazy person, a bit lazy and not interested in the professional growth, then it's quite difficult to cope. I thank him because he entrusted me earlier, very early, because he employed me immediately after I finished my final presentation at the university. We were 3 female by then, ladies in our class, four ladies in our class, and Dr. Vicky is among them. And I think me and Vicky were employed on the same company immediately after the graduation. In Mekon, I learned a lot, and I did my master's degree while working at Mekon. In 2001, I joined, in November, I joined University of Dar es Salaam for master's degree, and that is the Masters of Engineering Management. For that, I thank again Dr. Mkonyi for the opportunity to continue working at Mekon. I did a project management course that added very crucial skills for managing architectural projects. So, and I acquired skills in project management, more of those skills from Professor Lema, who was my lecturer. Under his guidance and supervision, I got an opportunity to be project architect for a number of projects, including, by then I was working in Mekon. Those projects were projects that are managed by the company. So, but I was project architect for the rehabilitation of TANESCO Shinyanga. I did it from the initial stage to the commission, the Buguruni Clinic, Ngorongoro office, and there we had challenge like Ngorongoro, we had challenge designing in a conserved area, and that's, we got a lot of conservation skills and design skills in conserved area. And then Tanzania Atomic Energy Commission in Arusha, we did that also. And that's, it was also a challenge project because we had to deal with the raise those atomic energy and how to protect them and so on and so on. It was unique. It's not like any project. Then we did a pediatric complex. I was involved in that. And the more interesting project was on the research kind of architecture, the preparation of standard guidelines and drawing for healthcare facilities in Tanzania. We traveled all over the country, even in a very remote area of the country, collecting data and then analyzing those data and come up with a design and the standard guideline for that. Another interesting project that I was involved while working in Mekon is BOT value for money. So we had to check for the value for money for that project. We go through design drawings, specification, and BOQ, and come out with the recommendation. Those are a few projects that I was involved in Mekon, and there are also many more interesting projects. For the sake of time, I won't be able to mention all of them. So from Dr. Mkonyi, apart from learning by observing the way he's doing things, a trust he gave me was the key to my success. He identified my strengths and dwelt on them to improve. He gave me a chance to develop my other skills and correct me when necessary. So he was open for discussion. When we need to talk, then he was easy to report to. And when I encounter any challenge, he was ready to help and assist. And from gathered experience, I managed to get registration. That's 5 years. After 5 years of practice, then I got registered by our Board of Architect and Quantity Surveyor Registration Board. And after that, I applied for a post of research fellow in Institute of Human Settlement Studies at the Earth University. And that's I was inspired by Professor Huber, an architect and a researcher also. Then I wanted to be part of that team. So I applied for the post and I got it. Then I left Mekon in July 2004, bold and confident. In Aru, I met Professor Ubanguruma, architect Professor Ubanguruma. She was my inspiration and she guided me tirelessly, both professionally and academically, to follow her path as head of department. And then I was appointed as director of gender dimension unit at ARO. I can say I'm highly indebted to her. She's a strong woman, hardworking, humble, and is a person to integrate with. With her, gave me an opportunity to work on one of her biggest projects, like Twin Tower. We went to Dubai for drawing coordination. From there, I can say honestly that I met very good architects where I learned a lot from. And I'm still learning a lot from her. And because my mentors involved me in projects where I did almost every proposal, right? All activities alone, then that's increased my confidence and improve my way of doing things and allow me now to call myself architect. And I'm currently leading a team, 7 teams. I'm a team leader of 7 teams working on construction project. I'm team leader, I'm designing Kwanga Mara Regional Referral Hospital as a team leader. I'm leading a team which is designing Singida Regional Referral Hospital. I'm leading a team which is designing Mwalimu Nyerere University of Agriculture. I'm leading a team which is designing National Audit Office in Tanga. I'm also leading a team which is designing Cyclone and Petty City scan building at Ocean Road, Dar es Salaam. I'm leading a team which is doing a rehabilitation of Washington, DC, or the Chancery building. And I'm leading a team which is supervising construction of immigration office. I hope I still have time.
No, thank you very much. I was just waiting for you to finish up the project. Well done. Okay. Congratulations, Doctor. Congratulations. Yeah. And I would also like to say you've mentored us as well as our teacher. Thank you for that. Yeah. Yes. From the previous panelists that have spoken, we've learned from Architect Violet, breaking fear. From Subira, we've learned sustaining partnership and hardship, and then come out and prosper. From Architect Isabella, we've learned being observant and trustworthy to open up your inner skills. Now I would like to welcome our last panelist. Welcome Architect Nuru Nyangeta. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much. First I have to say, I know I have 10 minutes. I'm actually putting my time, so I know that within time I'll try this. Thank you, Dr. Vicky. Thank you, Bahati, for really, Architect Bahati, for giving me this opportunity. I'm so grateful. And thank you to my God, because I'm a woman of faith and I have to declare that, and I thank him for this particular time and opportunity. So I have to start my journey first with I'm an architect, and I am an executive director of Epitome Architects Limited. And we have offices in Dar es Salaam, Kigali, Dodoma, and Abuja. I'm actually in Abuja manning the Abuja office. I moved here with my husband, and that's a nutshell of what we're doing, and other things, so many other things, but I can't tell them all. But let me start my journey first with why I wanted to be an architect. Why architecture and not nothing else? When I was small, I used to really love creativity. You know, I used to love artwork. I used to love things that, you know, I see things, and whenever I see something, my head is going 360 degrees, and I just start thinking about artistically rather than anything else. Even though I did science at school, biology, physics, chemistry, and all, but medicine was not my path, and I knew there is something I really wanted to do. So I'm not so good with years, and also I'll leave all that statistics, which year, which what. But then I remember when I was in national service. At the time we were doing national service, and then there was an advert about the Ministry of Education was giving out scholarships from Commonwealth Secretariat to go to the UK. So I applied for them, and those were architecture for architecture students. And that's when I started thinking. I had already decided I'm not going to go to University of Dar es Salaam. I had an admission there, but they did not have what I wanted, and I knew I needed something in the creative arts. So I was looking for an opportunity, and that opportunity came in, and I applied and I got it. And I remember how I realized I'm going into a field that has very few women, because at the time, I think we, maybe 8 of us, or maybe 9 of us got those scholarships to go to various universities in the UK. And I was the only woman then. And I got to go into Strathclyde University, as Subira said, and she came later on, my little sister. She's still my little sister, but she's out there now, you see, which is good to see. So when I got to University of Strathclyde, I realized, again, as Violet said, then, you know, people were not traveling so much. I had not traveled a lot. It was my first time in Europe. I get into this university, and they're all white guys. And because even the white girls were only a tiny percentage, we were only 1 or 2% of ladies in that college. I remember literally counting the number of girls who were there. And I remember even the Black people who were there, I think we were 3 people, 2 guys, 1 from Sierra Leone, 1 from Zambia, and myself. So you can imagine the area. I'm getting into this place and I'm already intimidated. And I get into my 4 years of, I started with BSc Architectural Studies. And I've done my 4 years, but I know I love architecture, but I also needed to play it safe because I was very much sitting in my comfort zone. I didn't want to go out of my comfort zone because I was scared of failing. So I ended up being just a mediocre student, you know, just somebody, you know, nothing special. I was just playing it safe and everything. And then I got to 4th year. And I'm saying this with a reason. That's where my mentorship started. The mentor came into my life. He doesn't know this, but this is who changed my perception. So I get into 4th year, just as I think we were doing our final year, and then a new professor came. He was renowned in the UK, a very an award-winning professor. I remember his name, Professor Benson, I think. He came to university. He had just moved in, and he was the one doing critiques for the final year students' work, I remember. And then he came and he looked into our work, and he failed maybe 90% of the students. And he said, what is this? Are you guys really want to be architects? No creativity here. He rebuked us. We really felt small. So I decided to go back to my project. I quickly redid it. And again, I passed and I got my degree. I was happy, but you know, I knew I could do better. I went and did my, but that is when I got my rude awakening. I went and did my master's degree with BS in the same university. I did a master's degree in MSc in building science. then computers had just started, you know, so we're all excited about that. And then after that, I decided to go back to Strathclyde University to do my BR. Bachelor of Architecture, as we all know, it's a professional degree. So that was the hard degree. But then I remember that rude awakening. And I decided at that time that this guy, who I remember, he was still in the university, Professor Benson. And I said, I will not do the mistake I did before, to be just to be in my comfort zone. So I decided to be strategic. And I remember at the time we used to have these Malaysian students coming to university. And you know, Malaysians will come because they come from Malaysia and they've already done their diploma. So they come already knowing so much. So they intimidate you like nobody's business. And here I am, you look into their presentations, you're going, oh my God, oh my God. I decided to go and join forces with them. I thought this is my only way out now. So during when we were doing Bachelor of Architecture, it was you're supposed to team up, 3 of you, and you take 3 different elements of a project. Each one takes its own elements and you design as a team. So I approached 2 Malaysian students. I did it strategically. And I want people to hear me here, because you have to be strategic in the way you do your things. It helped me. So I strategically decided to join with the Malaysian student. And I got in and I asked to join their group, and they said, yeah, you can join it. I was very surprised that they actually agreed, an African student, to join their group. So to cut the long story short, these Malaysian students will work so hard. I will work with them. They will take me out of their comfort zone, my comfort zone. I will go with them. They will sleep in the universities working. I will be with them, you know. And then my potential started coming out. Then I realized that, oh, so the thing I used to love as a child, this is something I really love. Design started coming. I have to tell you, my skill is in design. I'm not a good project manager. I'm not a good admin. I leave it to other people, but bring me design anytime while I'm asleep, while I'm awake, while I get excited. And now this thing started coming out, and I really saw myself being really interested in design. And now that Professor Benson, who rebuked me, became my good friend, because he came and started seeing what I was doing, and he was impressed. Very impressed to see what I was doing. I was very impressed with myself, so I could do this, you know. Anyway, to cut a long story short, we finished Bachelor of Architecture, and God in his grace made me be the top student of the university. That was on that year BIAC. So they normally give an award for the top student of the time, and I got that award. And the award was, I broke the record in the school, because the award was given to the first woman, whether it's black or white or what, and it was given to the first Black person. So I broke that record, which was very good. But not only that, because at the time, all the top students of the universities, they will take their names and take their work and go to display them in the Royal Institute of British Architects building. Because when they display there, they're picking out of that, they're selecting the best for the gold award for the RIBA. So my work was displayed, which was good, but I did not get that award. Somebody else got it, and it ended up being published in other journals, which was nice. So that gave me now my position, and I realized, so this is my potential. And this man, who he did not know, he was my biggest mentor. Realized my potential. From there, it's this man who brought my potential out. There I worked, I moved to London. I worked in London in a company, but because I knew what I loved, and I displayed what I loved. And this is what I want young ladies to hear, because you pursue your passion, not other people's passion. Don't follow somebody else. I love design. Just because I love design, it doesn't mean somebody else loves that. I loved it so much. And in the company in London, I became in charge of many times when they had design issues, they'll call me, when they put me in charge of design. And that is what I liked. And I started flourishing in that. I came back, I hopped a few countries, got married, had 2 children. My children are now back in university, finished university, they're working now, they're young adults. So I got back to Tanzania with my husband, and I started a small firm called Icon Architects, and it was a sole proprietor. But then I realized that it's not doing me so much because I'm single. I'm only by myself. I'm a woman to start with because I've gone into a very male-dominated country profession. And I remember then, I think those who had registered at the time I registered in Tanzania, there were only about 3 or 4 architects. We were maybe 2% at the time, very, very few of us. So I knew the hurdles I had to go through. So I strategized yet again. I decided early on, I'm not working for anyone. I've decided to just go straight to practice, to private practice. So I got a partner, Mr. Kaisi Kalamo, and I decided to join with him. We understood each other in different levels. His skills compromised mine, mine compromised his, his skill complemented mine, my skill complemented him. So we became a partnership that is still, until today, it's still ongoing. We started with Land Plan Icon Architects, and we changed to, the name changed to Epitome Architects. But to be quick, when we started Epitome Architects, since it's about me, I decided to remove barriers in my life. And I said, I'm a woman, I'm in a very male-dominated field, I'm in a very male-dominated culture, but if I want to make it, there is no way I can have barriers. And for me, I don't see barriers. I've never seen barriers. I've removed all barriers, and I refuse to put barriers. And hence, I became to be known as that very iron lady woman. People sometimes think I'm too strict, but I had to put a cloth on me. I had to put this cloth on me to be able to deal with the challenges of being a woman architect leading projects in a company. And I have seen it all. It's been very challenging, but every time you put a straight face and you stand to who you are, I think people now know who you are in a way that, oh, just work. That's all. You just go with it. Let's just walk. Let's just work. And for me, that is what I have wanted it to be. We have been very blessed in our firm, I have to say. We have been blessed to be able to work with many clients. We have worked, I can't start talking about all the works that we have done, but we've worked with embassies, we have done a lot of health projects. We've worked with people like CDC. We've worked with people like the Abbott Fund. We have worked with Tanzanian pensioners. We have worked pension funds. We have worked with governmental institutions. We've worked with banks, Bank of Tanzania, many. And I'm very grateful for that opportunity. So I will not really go into that. But what I wanted, I remember once, and when Subira was speaking, and I thought, yeah, let me mention this. I remember once before, I was looking for, again, I went into like a mentoring program. And then it was at the time, USAID, I think, were doing a project, and I applied. And I got that, and they stationed me for mentoring in Miami for 3 months. They had to put me in 2 different firms. And there they put you deliberately to know how these international firms work and how they can carry you along and mentor you. And for me, that opened up again, that, you know what, how these people work, we have to really try and be able to remove barriers and work. Because me, I don't call myself local, international. I don't have those barriers. I just work and bringing my bars high and high and high as much as I can until the day Jesus calls me back home. So that is my short story. But to be honest, many women will ask ourselves, how do we able to manage all this? I was married. I had small children then. I managed to juggle life as a woman, as a wife, as a business partner, and as many other things. And I just wanted also to say something. This issue of mentoring, because I was mentored the hard way. I was mentored in a way that somebody literally took out the potential in me and brought it to the fore. And that is the reason why I made a decision that in my firm, I will be mentoring people the way I have been mentored, because I believe that mentoring works for me. It worked for me, it can work for many. So I have had this principle and philosophy that if we bring in young people into our firms, and when I'm interviewing people, I don't want to see, I like that. I don't want to know if you had first class, second class, whatever class. I don't look into that. I look into, during the interview, to look into your potential. And I see if I can bring out that potential. And that is what we do in our firm. And through our projects, God has given me this experience, and I've been in that journey for so long. we have managed to bring in people in our firm that we have mentored through bringing out their potential. Many have, come, I just want to. We say, no, you have potential to be somebody. What do you want to be? You see, mentoring it can be different in many fields. Just because you're an architect, it doesn't mean you are supposed to be a design architect. It doesn't mean that you're supposed to be a project manager. You can be, I was reading about the different areas of architecture. There's so much. Nowadays, you can just do green audit. You can just, it can be a heritage architecture. What is your passion? And this is what we try and bring out from the people we bring into our firms. And with that, my mentoring story, I've had and I've been able, and I believe I have, and we didn't have enough time to show our pictures of the projects. But if I show you the pictures of the projects we have done, I will tell you, I did not do those projects. I mentored people, young ladies, young boys, to do those projects, and I stood on behind, because on the back, sorry, because I know you're telling me to stop now, because mentor, so I'll stop.
Thank you, Architect Nuru. I'll give back the ball to Dr. Victoria.
All
Please.
right, thank you. Before we open the floor for questions and whatever you want to discuss with our panelists today, I wanted to ask a few questions to them, and then we will open the floor. What I've noted for both of you, you went through mentoring in one way or another. Some of them were structured, some were not. Some of them were not structured, and some of them were your own initiatives. But unfortunately, in our program, we have like a 1-year program. And we have to open the door for other young architects, professionals who would join our program just for 1 year. And then we have to let them go. But they can also come back and be mentors in the program. But in a course of 1 year, we also feel like it's not a very long time for them to be able to learn some things and take them with them as they keep growing. But it has to be that way. One question that I want to pose to Architect Violet is, how would one find a good mentor? Because we want them to continue and find mentors the same way. You have explained it a little bit, but I would also want you to say more on what does it take to get a good mentor, and what are things that you look for? Karib.
For mentees, in that 1 year, you have identified your strength, you have identified your weakness, you have identified your vision, you have identified your dreams and purpose in life. And I think you have role models, and you have some people you want to be like study the person, the way they work, and see what they are doing, their fruit, what they have done. Then maybe you can join their office, like what Nuru said. A lot of young people, they joined in their office, and she started mentoring them. So you can join their office. Like what I did is I joined Professor Lema's office, and he became my mentor, just not by program, just automatically. I was working in project management, so that is how I moved with him. And I want to encourage the mentees. In the program, we were like, Vicky was following, the mentor was following, but he was writing emails. But you have to run the show. The mentee, you have to run the show. You have to run after the mentor, because you are making your life, you are making what you want to be in life. So also you have to know that in your journey, you'll be challenged. You can meet a mentor, and the mentor can, you know, people have different personalities. Some they speak out, some they don't speak out. Don't be, don't feel bad. Maybe someone, I remember when I was in Netherlands, I had our coordinator who told me, your work is very poor, you need to improve. So if you are challenged, don't run away, don't feel bad, just be optimistic, because you want to learn, you want to reach somewhere, you want to be someone. So in your journey, your mentor can challenge you, can tell you something that you may feel bad. Just be there, because it's the process of learning. Also, when you identify your mentor, make a good relationship. Know your mentor very well, and let your mentor know you. Because when your mentor knows you, because he or she will realize your potential and make on them. Maybe as Nuru said, his mentor realized she's a very good in design. So she picked her up and he added her potentials. Also, it is good to be getting the mentor who will give you feedback time after time, maybe project after project, who will tell you like, you are good at this, you are not good at this, you have to improve, you have to do this, you have to do this. It is good to receive a feedback so that you can improve every day. You can improve in every area. Also, I would like the mentees to commit to their mentors, because sometimes you are available, sometimes you have excuses, sometimes you don't want to work or you are not interested. Be committed, because if you're committed, there is a saying that says someone will invest in you if you demonstrate, if they will believe you, if you have a reason to demonstrate that for them to trust you. And lastly, if with your mentee, keep the communication like the way we are. We're still following up with our mentors. They know what we are doing. They know what we have achieved, and if there is something they can add in what we have, in what we have. Like my mentor, he know what I'm doing at Sexy Architect. It's where he gave us the 2 projects. So I would like to advise the mentee to look very, 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 very deep in
Thank
who
you.
they want to mentor.
So that is, you already have a mentor, and now we want to look at how can we make this mentoring relationship work? Because what we've witnessed in our program, we started with a big number of mentees. And by the end of the year, we remained with only, I'll say 55% of, so not necessarily all mentorship relationship would work. But I think we also need to look at how can we sustain that relationship. So maybe I pose this question to Architect Subira to guide us. So give some tips on how can we make this work.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Vicky. Someone once said that building a relationship with your mentor is like job searching. You need to put in time, effort, and focus in cultivating, and that goes for any relationship. First, one of the things that you need to do as a mentee is set your goals. You must have goals when you're getting into a mentoring program or mentoring situation of any kind. And there's something called SMART goals. And what are SMART goals? These are specific, manageable, achievable, realistic, and time-sensitive goals. So once you've set your goals, it is more likely that you're able to follow through with the goals and realize where you're falling short and be able to find the right mentorship. But also be open about your needs. Mentors are not mind readers. You know, I think some people think that the mentor is going to be able to know everything, what you need. No, you need to be able to communicate. So tell them your expectations and tell them what your needs are. I remember in my 2008 mentorship, which I did in the US, I was very confused because my business partnership was coming on and was unraveling. It was coming apart. I didn't know how to proceed. I didn't know what to do. And I was talking with, I was being mentored by a businesswoman. So one of the things that I was able to do, I was able to communicate. I said, I'm stuck. I don't know how to move from here. I don't know if my clients will understand me. I don't know if my clients will want me as me, you know, as not part of a team. So they were able to basically put me through some level of counseling. I think it's counseling because a lot of the times, if you don't communicate, nobody knows where you are. But because I was feeling down, because I wasn't sure, I was able to communicate and they were able to counsel me and made me realize what I was capable of. So straight after that, I started to see everything in focus. I knew I could do this. I knew I could move forward, and that's how it happened. Had I not been open about that, that would have been difficult for them to actually pitch in and help me out. Like Violet said, I think you need to know your mentor, and vice versa. The mentor needs to know the mentee, but you need to know your mentor. That's like, as I said, any relationship, learning about their professional backgrounds, their interests, their personal likes, and you'll be able to tap in more into their knowledge if you know a little bit more about them, about their professional backgrounds and challenges that they faced, etc. You also need to develop trust. In any relationship, there must be trust. You're probably strangers. You're meeting your mentor. You've never had an interaction with them before. So you both need to work on how you can trust each other. Also, what is important here is do not be needy, because that breaks a mentorship program relationship. If you are needy, all you do is just expect to get, yeah. It's likely that you are going to exhaust your mentor and they'll probably try to avoid you. But follow up. I think the issue of following up and you being the leader in terms of knowing what you want and you know, staying in regular contact with your mentor, scheduling regular checkups, checking-ins rather, in terms of building relationships. You don't necessarily have to, this is what I believe, you don't necessarily have to meet face to face. It's good if you do, but with technology nowadays, you could be mentored by somebody in China. You have all these tools, you have all this technology. As long as you know what you need from this person and you're able to communicate, you have your goals, I think a mentorship relationship can be easily achieved. But also what is important, you must respect your mentor's time. These mentors are volunteers, and we sometimes forget that. They volunteer their time for no financial gains. So you must be able to realize that. Don't waste their time, get prepared. Every meeting you go to, you must be prepared. You must know what you want to be able to get the most out of it. And never downplay their knowledge or experiences. Everybody's experience matters. It's a matter of choosing what you pick out of that experience and moving forward. So the issue of being prepared and taking responsibility for your learning, as Violet mentioned, is very, very important. You must be the person driving the learning. Take a proactive role, take appropriate risks. Like Nuru said, get out of your comfort zone, because that's when you actually will learn the most, and you'll be able to impress your mentor. You'll be able to get them motivated to keep mentoring you. Recognize also that mentors are humans and they have limitations. They have limitations in their knowledge, in their abilities, in their experiences, and wherever you feel that there's a limitation, you can respectfully ask for recommendations to get what you need, maybe from another mentor, but also you need to look not only at one person. When you see that there's a limitation with your mentor, reach out to other people so that you don't downplay the whole experience, or you don't just wipe it out. And finally, show appreciation. I think all of us as human beings, we need to be appreciated. We love to be appreciated. That's how we flourish. So the mentors, bearing in mind that they are volunteering their time, show them appreciation. Send the occasional thank you email, note, whatever it is that, so don't expect that they're helping you. Don't expect that they are satisfied in just helping. Well, they are satisfied in helping you, but show that appreciation. This is what I mean. So that's, in short, the summary of how I think you can build from a mentee point of view. The mentors also have issues, but I don't know here. I think we're just talking about mentees. Yeah.
Okay. We'll ask the question to reflect on the mentor.
Yeah.
I think I'll ask the question to architect Isabella. You have mentored many, and I think we believe that there are benefits on both sides, for the mentor and for the mentees as well. So maybe to reflect on your journey, what are the benefits that you've gained to as a mentor to mentor somebody else? You can share that with us, and that way we also want to use this platform to attract more people to volunteer their time to mentor somebody else. So Isabella, please share with us your experience.
I can learn from you, and you can learn from me. So what I have learned that's important in order to have a good mentoring program, you have to ensure a high level of competence and confidence on part of mentees. It's very crucial for a mentor to be presentable and fit in every situation that creates confidence, trust, and willingness on the part of mentee to continue their journey process. That's what I have learned. So you keep the confidence part of it, you show it, and you become confident for them to trust you and be able to learn. And then I have learned to be a partner. Learning by doing together is the key success. And partnership in mentoring program comes by discussing things, different issues, and agreed upon on the way forward, not direct. Actually, my mentee are always free to approach me anytime. And this is also beneficial to me. And through discussion, I come to learn about their strengths and the experience and make most of them through channel of my vision and the skills. When there are weak spots, I always ensure that mentor acquires additional skills, but you can't understand their weakness if you don't become a partner in the mentoring program. If your mentor has poor presentation skill, if you don't engage a mentee to several presentation forums. Hello? Just be able to. I have learned this goes both ways. Is in order to understand a person and for learning purpose, you need to listen to them. Listen on the way your mentee deals with success or failure. Provide you with that's one. The listening will provide you with new perspectives on how to deal with similar situations in the future. I'm not sure if people I consider my mentees would know that they were at some point provide me with advice without unknowing, and insight and feedback when I need them most. You don't have to just get it. That is the one benefit of being a mentor. The influx of fresh idea from your mentee. Another lesson is practical knowledge. Don't get a practical knowledge. knowing that a mentor must be patient, must be practice patient, and the mentee also must practice patient. Because the practical knowledge can be accumulated after individual participation on the number of projects, not single project. So mentee be ready to learn for years by participating. For a mentor, then it gives chance to your mentee to learn new skills by possible engaging them to projects that is new, and they do not have adequate skills to handle. And do not, the mentor do not expect his output or competence out of these activities. So they learn not like a teacher. And then another thing I learned is that you have to provide feedback on every assignment you give them, and they explain any unique situation that is you encountered on the process. For acceptable projects, they have, you may encounter something during project management, and you don't expect your mentee to notice the difference. Same applies to mentor. Mentee when noticing the energy. So you provide feedback to your mentor or feedback to your mentee, then take the next step on this, validate their contribution. Encourage them. Provide your mentee with the board. They have to talk. Give them credit and positive response when things are done. That's what I learned there. Another thing is to be humble. And you have to be humble. Do not glorify your achievements every time you are talking to them. Embrace your mistake and failure is the key to help us understanding on how you deal with outcomes and the reaction when things go wrong. They will learn to do mistakes that we have previously done project or on the way you handle things. Focus on their strengths. Allow creativity from your mentor. You know, some graduates are complaining that they are not given time to design or to uncover their ideas. So they are mentors and architects. So better, it's good to give them a chance to cover their idea and be creative. Sometimes it's good to identify those skills from mentee and utilize them so far. Keep the creativity flowing from the mentee and cover this idea. I also think that you have to simplify the mentoring relationship, both of you. Together, environment. Listen. Ask about you, weekend and family and small stuff that it can bring you close and allow you to work as a team. Ensure willingness. You know, some mentors are not ready to take part in this. And then you have to ensure that they are ready before engaging. So until the mentee is ready to partake in the relationship and to give it fully, it will be, you will feel like you are banging your head against the wall. So you have to ensure that their willingness to participate. I think mainly the benefits gained from being a mentor is learning from these mentees. Believe me or not, they are providing me with a lot of new skills and knowledge, and sometimes the feedback you get from them, just believe me, it helps you a lot in solving problems during project management.
Okay. All right, thank you, Dr. Sabela. I think we'll ask our last question to Architect Nuru, and then we'll open the floor for you guys to send in your questions. You can raise your hand using the emoji that is available in your Zoom, or you can even write a question in the chat, then we can read it. So either way, but after a response from Architect Nuru, we will open the floor for everyone to ask a question. The question to you, Architect Nuru, is if you look at the context of Tanzania, women participation in the construction industry is very minimal. And one of the reasons could be maybe the lack of role models in the industry. So we are happy to have you guys today and hear from you and know there are women out there doing a lot. But then how can we change this? How can we make the large society we live in understand that there are women in the construction industry and role models, and for our young generation to learn from them? So how can we do more for the society to know we exist? Karibu, Architect Nuru.
Mine was a little bit of a tricky question. So I decided to start with the grassroots first, because I feel there's another question to it. How can more role models come into society? Because there are very few role models, but how can we bring more? And then I'll go to even the few, what can we do? I think first and foremost, I think the biggest problems that we are challenged in our African countries, as Tanzania being one of them, is to break the barrier of numbers in these professions, because it's always a very man-dominated industry, and women feel very uncomfortable to get into these professions because of how they were brought up from the grassroots. And when I was pondering in this, it was very difficult for me to answer this question without going to the grassroots and see what is the challenge and why are we very few to start with. And I felt that if you go, because first and foremost, we have a problem with visibility, even with the few who are there. We are not visible enough. Maybe today, a lot of students or ladies who have joined are seeing me for the first time, are seeing Subira for the first time, are seeing Violet for the first time, are seeing Dr. Isabella for the first time, are hearing this program for the first time, because there's a big problem of visibility. And when I say visibility is what? Nowadays, people, they'll be watching the news, they'll be watching social media, they'll always be on their phone, Instagram, Twitter, they'll be on maybe reading a magazine, TVs, and radios, day-to-day activities and all. And when we don't see ourselves in those, when it comes to construction, in the construction industry, or when it comes to architecture, they don't see women. So society don't know we exist. They don't know we exist. They see men all the time, and hence have a perception that we are not around. So how do we break the barrier of the numbers? And for me, I went back first to statistics. I tried to get statistics in Tanzania. I remember when I was registering, when I became an architect, I think we were maybe 1 or 2%. Today, there are about 12% of architects in Tanzania. It's a big leap, but that leap is still not big enough, because there are also about 16% of engineers, 23% of quantity surveyors, 16% of builders. I mean, we can say kudos, we have done so well. But if you look into this percentage, you'll probably find, for example, architects now, because I'm an architect, out of these 12% of architects who are registered, maybe 10% or 20% of the 12% of architects are really practicing. And a lot of them have dropped out and gone into different areas that they find it's easy for themselves. And this is a big challenge. Again, with our culture, I went back to where I started. I was born in an African culture. And normally in an African culture, our parents, if you have your parents as a role model and your mentor, then one big barrier has already been broken. And if parents can be the role model, the mentors of their children, I think that is one thing that we really need to look at. And I find encouragement of the girl child since they're children is really a biggest challenge in our culture. Girls are brought up to be get married, have children. And, you know, even when you're educated, you know, these hard, what we call the hard professions that are more male dominated are not very encouraging, are not encouraged. So this have to start from there. Schools, go to schools. Mentoring programs need to start going into the schools. You know, Vicky and Bahati, I really take my hat off for doing what you're doing. If you can extend that to the schools, and the schools start knowing that there is Vicky, there is Bahati, there is Subira, there is Violet, there's Dr. Isabella, and there's so many of those young ladies and older ladies like me who have gone into the profession, have made it. So, you know, we can bring more out. So more people, more young people come out. Universities, for example, if there's an affirmative action on how to recruit ladies, to bring me, I'm trying to resolve the problem why we are not there. I know I'm not answering a question, but I think this is extremely important. Affirmative action in universities to bring in more young ladies when they're doing the recruitment. I think if the university has a target, 40, 60. So, you know, sometimes you can, to encourage more women, to bring awareness for women to apply to universities, and even the educators themselves to be more women in there. So if I come and my lecturer is a woman, I'll feel more comfortable than when my lecturer, everybody I see in the university is a guy. Institutions, governments, you know, employment, affirmative action in employment, promotions in leadership. This is extremely important, and this is something that we're still lagging very much behind. Mentoring programs in so many different areas. And hence, that is one of the reasons that we're very few women in the construction industry. But one thing I notice, and why and how can we do more to be more visible? Technology has become an equalizer. Right now, I'm in Abuja, and I'm able to link up with Dar es Salaam, for example. I am in Abuja. I work in Abuja. I run a company in Abuja. But at the same time, I'm still running projects in Tanzania. Right now, I'm actually leading a project in Tanzania virtually, and it's going on very, very well. And I can, during our presentations, I can be there. And if I want to present, I can present virtually. And there's no barrier anymore. So technology has become an equalizer for us women to really be seen out to society, to be able to be seen and to be able to be known. And I find that is one thing that is extremely important. Mentoring programs, again, I've discussed about mentoring programs in different areas. I think mentoring programs, sadly, mentoring programs are not being understood the way they should be understood. And I think there have been a lot of challenges that many of the young people out there maybe don't understand truly the importance of mentoring. Because if I was mentored by Professor Benson and he didn't know he's mentoring me, but he was coaching me in a way I could say harshly, but for me it was a coaching mentoring. And today I'm able to be here, to be able to mentor others. So when young ladies take mentoring seriously, more of them can come, because they're saying that there's a big advantage on mentoring. As you mentor students, you support them. You know, as you mentees, you support them. You help them get to their goals. You help them lead them to where they want to go. You help them, give them ideas of knowing what they want to do. You help them put the passion into their hearts and to know that they can do it. And the more come out of that package of not being visible, we will be more visible. So visibility is extremely important, but until when a lot of us are out there and having the confidence to be able to work confidently and to be seen, because until now, I can tell you, if you look into the work, for example, many people will look into, if I want to know, I look into a building, but because I will admire a building. You know, sometimes I see the buildings we have designed and they're all out, people are going out there and taking pictures, but people, and it's going out in social media, and somebody will send it to me. Somebody's just stood in front of townhouse and they're really, you know, beautiful pictures and people are really taking pictures. But the person behind the building is not known. And society doesn't know that. So society needs to know that through real awareness, visibility, and for programs like this, I think, I don't know if I've answered your question. It was a little bit of a hard question, but, but that's my take for this. But I think mentoring programs have to be really, I think women, we have to follow your examples, Bahati and Dr. Vicky. Most of us to be able to set up or to be part of the mentoring programs and to bring more people out to be into the construction field, to ensure those who have the passion in the construction practice that passion and are able to be part of that group of women in the profession, rather than dropping away, because I can tell you many of the ladies have dropped out because of the difficulty of being able as a mother, will I be able to get married and be able to do all these kind of things? You see, their traditional way of thinking takes in, and they think they cannot be able to be successful in this area of the construction industry because it is very difficult. It is not women friendly, it is men friendly. So we all have to play a part in this.
Thank you, Architect Nuru. Thank you all our panelists, and what we were able to tap from you today, I think it's a lot, and it will guide us for the rest of our career life. So I want to open the floor to our participants to ask questions, and you can ask questions, maybe mention directly the person you would like to respond, or you can just ask the question and then our panelists will respond. Now I see hands. There's Kelvin, and I see a question from Lillian and Magdalena. So let's start with Kelvin, and then Lillian, then Magdalena, then respond. Karibu, Kelvin.
Therapist at KSMZ Hospital, but my young sister is taking a Bachelor of Science in architect. She is in her first year. She did well in first semester, but then as things are getting harder, she keeps on complaining like things are very difficult for me. And then so when I saw this poster, I thought it might be very helpful for her to see what other people are doing in her field, especially women. So I also learned some things which I will talk. I'll talk to her later. But so she's also listening to. She's also in this meeting. So I hope she learned a lot. And with what we heard from Nuru, from I don't remember the names very well. I think she now has this. She has been exposed to the field of architect, and I think this maybe from here she'll change. Like she will starting have a new vision of this field of architect. So thank you very much. It's an honor to be here, and then I hope you organize other events regarding the architect, and yeah, thank you so much. It was really helpful.
Okay, thank you, Kelvin. I'm glad your sister is here, so she gained a lot as well. And these dialogues, we do it once a month, so you will hear us next month again. So we'll take another question from Lillian, and then I think Magdalena was next. Then I see Esther. Go ahead, Lillian.
My name is Lillian Kilave. I'm from Arad University. I am a fourth-year student pursuing my Bachelor of Science in Land Management and Valuation. And I'm the outgoing, the Prime Minister of the student government and the first female to hold the position. And I'm also a gender club chairperson, of which the previous director of the gender dimension unit was Dr. Isabella. She has been supporting us a lot. My question is, are the outgoing Prime Minister and the top female leader in our university, of which there are a number of students, especially female, who are pursuing the architects and other field studies such as landscape architecture as well as interior design. The main problem of which a lot of girls have been encountered is including the financial issues, of which most of them are facing the financial difficulties when it comes to designing and sometimes the extra faculty needs, of which I've been witnessing some of the girls have been even reached to the point that they say that they can no longer go on with the course due to the expenses. And I think even Dr. Isabella is a witness to this. But my question is to Dr. Isabella, on what ways you think the institution, especially the institution of which you women in architecture, you are one of you, I think you are the members and also the learners, are the women who have been very successful. What can you do for as an initiative of which you can support these females, of which it's very easy to identify them in the university, so as to help them in one way or another, including financing them. On the other hand, also I can see you have the power of raising the voices, including on the issues of financial from the loans board, of which the loans from the Health Hub have been given equal as other students, but you can see the students, especially who are taking ACTED, they're having a lot of special faculties expenses, of which the board can also consider them. But the problem comes when it comes to raising voices to recommend for them to be considered. So I'd like you to respond on the issues of financial matters, of which is have been a major problem of dropout of girls from taking these courses. Thank you. I'm done, I think.
I think that is a very difficult question to pose in a mentoring platform program, because financing higher education, I think there are a lot of channels that one can go through to be able to finance education. But I'll let Dr. Isabella, if there's anything she wants to add on this or respond to this, or any other panelists.
Thank you, Dr. Becky. I'm aware of the problem in the university. This problem is not facing girls alone. It's a common problem. There are faculty requirements totally different from other courses, you know. Access is very demanding, a lot of equipment and other stuff that are needed to the students doing their work properly. And I didn't know, what I didn't know is that it causes girls to drop out of the most of the time we get a risk from gender club. I got one report last year on female students who needed help and doing assistance, but I can't promise that the university can finance such a thing because it's the sponsor who can do that. And financing the requirements of individual students need individual initiatives. So if I can recommend that the Vice President Lillian can talk to students who are about to drop out of the program and analyze their needs, the requirements, and perhaps talk to the current director that I mentioned here. He may find a way to look for the finance for those skills, for the immediate. We try to enroll at the end female students if we can until we have reached 34% of the enrollment. And now we are not ready to lose ground on that matter. So it's a gender, it can be well resolved in gender coordination unit, the university. So I recommend this to go to send the matter to the office, and I'm sure they will work.
Okay. All right, thank you, Isabella. Then let's hear from Magdalena. So maybe we can shorten our questions so that way we leave room for others to be able to ask questions as well. So Magdalena, karibu.
My first question goes to architect Violet. And this also, I noted this also with architect Subira. They addressed one of the things at one point in their professional life, they got to be mentored or trained by people who are not architects, i.e. engineers or business women. So I wanted to know, how was the transition for you, especially for Act Violet, that at one point you were trained by an architect. So I think we feel more heard when it's someone who has been through the same process as us is training us. And then the switch up to being mentored by someone in a different profession. And what was the biggest bonus coming out of the fact of being trained by someone from a different field than you? My second question is for Aksubira, and can also be for Architect Nuru, because they addressed this at different points, regarding starting new firms, or when young architects, young professionals start their own firms, or starting to developing their own roots or planting themselves into the profession. And one of the things we really see very commonly, but we hardly address because we feel like it's a shame or something, is when the business maybe fails or the partnership dissolves. And I wanted to understand from your perspective, for young professionals, do we only have the option of just starting our own firms when we want to plant our roots, or should young professionals start looking into the opportunities of actually becoming partners or partnering in firms that has already been very established? They already have a huge clientele base. Maybe they have good technology. Do you think that is also an option for young professionals in Tanzania, rather than just jumping the gun and thinking of just starting your own thing? My third question goes to Dr. Isabella. And this is, you're now a lecturer or a trainer. You're actually in the kitchen where we make these professionals, or soon to be professionals. And at some point you also got to practice, or you're still practicing. And I wanted to know, from your perspective, from the experience of practicing and being a trainer, what gap do you see in our training programs in university that you feel like we need to somehow fill it, so we can prepare these young minds for the professional field or for the professional world? Thanks.
All right, thank you, Magdalena. So maybe we hear from the panelists. First question was directed to Violet.
He asked how I switched from architecture mentoring to being mentored by engineer. Know that architecture is engineering, and know that you may be mentored by more than one mentor. So my mentor is an engineer. He is not specializing in those structural design, engineering design, civil design. He is specialized in project management. As Nuru said, I'm also in design. I'm very good in design area, and my worry was I'll be much into design and fail to manage the project. So I wanted to be half-half. I wanted both. That's why I went to this project management. And while I was in the project management, also I was looking at other resources, like I was reading the internet, what is going in the architectural world, the design world, while I'm doing the project management. And the project management I was doing is the design which have been done by other architects. So I'm just manage the construction. So it was not that difficult because I was not into structural. No, it is the project management. I think I answer your question.
Thanks, Violet. So we're here from architect Subira. Second question, I think, was directed to you.
Yeah, I think the second question, okay, maybe just to build on what Violet said first about mentoring, experiencing mentoring from people who are not architects. I think what you need to realize is that there are so many skills that you as an architect needs in order to thrive. So you don't necessarily have to limit your mentorship to just somebody with a similar professional background. I think there's a lot to learn from other professions as well. And at the end of the day, you want to, it's basically, at the end of the day, it's a profession, but there's a business side to the profession as well. So you could learn things from a business perspective. You could learn things from a marketing perspective. You could learn things from, leadership perspective. So it's a multi-faceted profession that I think you should open your mind to learning from other people as well, and not just focus or just think that you can learn only from people who share the same profession. The issue about starting new firms, whether or not it's advised or whether or not it's an option to join existing firms, of course, that's always an option. In fact, you might even benefit as a young person joining a firm, knowing and learning how to work within partnerships, and maybe that will work out for you. So I think the most important thing is to know exactly where you are, what you want, what your goals are. Some people just want to work by themselves because they're not interested in sharing opinions. They're not interested in reporting to somebody or having to feed off somebody. So I think for me, as far as my personal experience is that, yes, when I first ventured out on my own, I wasn't really on my own. As I said, I joined forces with a partner. And so some of the challenges that I faced within the partnership made me want to step back and really just move forward on my own for a while. And as you may know, once bitten, maybe twice shy, I don't know. But that doesn't necessarily mean that, that is the end of, that's it, you can only work on your own or anything like that. No, I think even at this point in my life, if I feel like there's a firm that will gel with me in terms of where I am in my life, I would have no hesitation approaching that firm and saying, hey, can we look into some sort of a partnership? I've had discussions with another firm, one firm, but possibility of merging. So all those discussions, all those possibilities are there, and one should not limit themselves. What is important, know your goals, know yourself, know your weaknesses, know your strengths, and know that when you work with people, where you would fit in. I think that's more important.
Can I add a little bit to what Architect Subira is saying? Because I think you also asked if I can also put an input on that. I'll just give you from experience. And I always find that most of us, including myself, when I came out of university, I decided I didn't want to work with anyone. I'll just start my own firm. Whether I made the right decision or not, I'm not so sure. because I think I could have benefited more first to settle in a particular, because I didn't have the experience to run a firm. I just jumped into a firm and started and faced so many different challenges. And I find that is the biggest problem that we are having as in our parts of the world, because everyone who wants to come out of university, we rush to start a firm. And when we start a firm, we end up having these small firms. And you find in Tanzania and many other African countries, we don't have big architectural firms, simply because I'll start a firm and I'll call it Nuru Architects Limited, whatever. Subira will start as Subira Mchumo something. Somebody else will start, because it's just in, I don't know if it's in our culture or what. I'll give an example. When I had a partner and we started a partnership, and I understand Subira's point, how challenging partnerships can be, especially in our parts of the world. We had a partnership that was purely based on trust, and we thank God, and I'm not saying others did not based on trust. I really thank God that it really lasted until today, and I cannot see that partnership coming down. But we decided to open up to younger people and to find everyone who we've employed to really look into their potential, and you can tell who you can be able to bring them into your organization. And we've spotted a person who we brought in because you want to have a person who has a long-term vision with your company, who's there to, you can see this person is there to stay. And we brought him in, and now we're 3 partners. And this is a young man who's doing fantastically well. Actually, I'm the one calling him sometimes for advice. David, can you tell me this? Because we saw his potential, and he became a partner. And we are open to more, because we feel that until when we group up to be a bigger firm, or to more of you can create a bigger firm than having just smaller number of people, and to compete for bigger jobs becomes very difficult. And I find that I will encourage you to really look into this perspective, and also encourage more younger people in this, to first go into a firm, look into the firms you like, work with a longer, long-term view in mind. I mean, give yourself options, but don't go to work in a firm and say, I only go there, work for 2 years, get my registration and out. And that's what we find. A lot of people come just to get their registration and they disappear. And then they go and start their tiny little firms. And then if everyone has their tiny little firm, to grow becomes very difficult.
May I add on that?
All right, very briefly, so we can get all the questions, because I see people raising their hands. Go ahead.
I stayed in the 2 different firms, one 6 years, another 6 years, total at 12 years in design and construction before I joined the firm. So my experience is different from Nuru and Subira. For them, from the university, they started the firm. I stayed 12 years, then I joined the firm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just wanted to add that.
Very good, thanks. So Isabella, if you can touch on the last questions from Magdalena about the gap at the university.
So I would like to inform her that we have reviewed curriculum recently, and there are some limitations. You can include everything in 5 years of training. The creativity is well trained and is ready to go professional, and that's where we concentrate. But students are getting some practical experience, but it's inadequate due to curriculum limitations. There is only 3 months. I see that's spending 3 months every year. So that is not enough to give students practical skills and knowledge. So that can be a gap in training, but there is no way you can give it to them for the 5-year duration of the program. So we have also some courses that are adding on that, practice courses. And we think that more engagement and involvement of practicing architects on those courses will be of more help. But the HRB, Architects and Quantity Surveyor Registration Board, knowing that there is this practical day in training, both for local institutions and institutions from abroad, the graduates are not allowed to register without being engaged in a tutelage program for 2 years. This is very important to qualify. So the gap is there, but there's no way we can fill it. Otherwise, we have to increase the duration of the program, which is not really. We can't implement that.
Okay,
I
thanks.
think I have.
You did, thank you. We had a hand from Esther Kitindi. And I see Pauline, I see iPhone, I don't see your name, and Comfort Moshe. So let's start with Esther, then Pauline, and
Okay.
iPhone to identify yourself, and Comfort.
Okay, hello everyone. I actually had a bunch of questions, but 2 of them have already been answered by previous speakers. So my first question actually was related to the issue of sort of knowing when to be patient and knowing how long you should stay in a firm before you leave, depending on, you know, sort of that type of line of questioning. And I think the previous question sort of answered that. But my next question, sorry, I actually wrote these down, sorry. My next question actually relates to 2 things actually. First, I'd like to know, do you feel with your experience in the foreign industries, apart from Tanzania's, do you feel like the education that is being provided at our universities makes the graduates suitable contenders to work, to not just work in our industry, but to sort of expand our industry and make our industry reach other borders? Like, for example, we'd see different foreign companies coming to design in Tanzania. For example, like Symbion International is a Kenyan company. Do you feel that our education is producing graduates who will have the capabilities to push Tanzania's construction industry forward and have Tanzanian firms in going to work in other countries and whatnot? But the second question was relating to the boards like AAT and the like. For Tanzania, ever since I graduated, I think last year, I graduated last year, we only heard about AAT once in university and we never heard about it again. And we know it's an important board, but we don't see the effort of AAT in approaching fresh graduates in sort of giving us a space to network with who is in the industry, to know where we can start to sort of you know, see our pool of possible mentors and the like. So I would just like to know, how do we as graduates or fresh graduates and even students, how are we supposed to approach AAT, or how exactly, what is the grasp of AAT in the industry, and how should we sort of take the opportunities or take advantage of the opportunities that AAT has to offer for us? And I think those are my only questions for now. Thank you.
Thanks, Esther. Well, let's see who is ready to respond to these questions. Yes, architect.
Can I ask his first question, whether the college or the university has is providing quality students? Did I get that correct? That that enough to be able to compete? I can't answer that particular question because it is very sensitive, but I can say this, and through experience, that when we employ students, most of our students, we have employed even abroad, and we have employed most of our students from ARU and other technical colleges and whatever. And when they come in, they might come in at a point of they've just graduated, and obviously as any graduate, they need a lot to learn. But because we put them through mentoring, what you call coaching, mentoring, I think there's that kind of mentoring. You mentor through coaching, because you're mentoring somebody through the job that they're doing. We find that because they might come with a lot of potential, but their potentials are not realized. And as I've said before, we take that potential we bring out his potential or her potential, their potential are realized. And you find at the end of it, these students are world-class. That's all that I can tell you. And I can give you two examples very quickly. You see that Mzima Tower building that is 33 stories that I think our firm and together with Amy, we're doing that. That is a complicated building. It was a time there was no 33 stories, not. Again, a young man who came from Aru, who was in our office, I handed over that project to him and I said, I will stand with you. You will lead it. And together with MD Consultancy, because they had also some people coming in, they had their own staff. And in the beginning, it was a little bit shaky, but we managed to bring him up. He would drop, we would bring him up again. And to a point, he knew about that building more than I could. And I remember we used to travel a lot for that building, to go out to China, to Italy, because of, it was that magnitude, you go to look at material, to inspect, whatever. I ensured that young man had to come. If either he goes, I don't go, so he can be mentored. So, or he goes and I go with him. And as we went, wherever we went in the presentation, I will just sit at the back and I'll just prompt him and whatever he does, and then I'll tell him, okay, you would have said it, you could have added this. And he took over and he was the one running this project. Sadly, he did not see the end of it. He left for some other reasons. But what I'm trying to say, and we've had many of those. I mean, if I give you a project we did in Mwanza, for example, again, now we're doing a project with, we're looking into a project. It's very complicated. It's an aviation center. A young lady from Aru. And I said, you will run this project. I'm just going to stand behind you and I will guide you. And she is coordinating. And I can tell you, after she comes out of that, she will be able to work with anybody, wherever they can, because it's only a matter of the process and to take out the potential out of a person. So yes, they can be world-class, depending on the process they get to. I cannot tell you how they come out of there. I don't want to talk about that, but they can be molded to be world-class. That much I can guarantee you, because we've had them. We've had many of those from our office.
All right. Thank you. I received messages that we are running out of time, but we have at least 3 questions left. If our panelists can tolerate a little bit for 5 minutes, maybe. But just touching a little bit about AAT and involvement with the university students before we go to the next question.
Yeah, it's a good question. And for me, I think my experience in previous years, as I said, I was president of AAT back in 2007 or somewhere there. So many, many years ago. And during those years, we did used to get invited to critique at UCLAS at that time. So I don't know whether the relationship has since deteriorated between UCLAS and AAT. I cannot answer. I think there are many challenges. And I remember our last real big effort to assist UCLAS was the issue of getting studios, studio spaces constructed. Now, AAT as an organization, I think there are challenges in terms of outreach, but again, I think I would pass the back to the person, the young lady who asked the question, because unfortunately, I see it as a maybe lack of initiative from the students at UCLAS. This AAT exists. AAT has a setup. It has communications. We have a president. We have a a council, etc. And if you take the initiative to learn about AAT and not wait for AAT to reach out to you, I think you will find that you will gain a lot more. And I'm sure there are some students who have already registered with AAT as student members, because we do have a membership category as student members. So what we were talking before, taking a proactive role is very important in your own development. And I think as young people, you shouldn't wait to be approached. You should actually be going out and say, where is AAT? We want to do X, Y, and Z. So I would flip it a little bit. If AAT is quiet, then what are you doing? Don't sit at the universities and wait to be approached by AAT. By the way, AAT are architects like me and all the other panelists. We are very busy. Yeah. So even in our busy schedules, it's, you don't expect that we will always be thinking, oh, there's an Esther that I need to, find it at UCLAS. You as Esther, reach out to AAT and get the information that you need, request contacts of firms, request contacts of architects, and make a selection from there who you think you would like to be associated with or mentor, etc. So take a proactive role. I think that's what I would advise.
And I'm an architect. I kind of, oh, sorry, my child is crying. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. I'm an architect, and I'm very fortunate. I studied a bit abroad, so I just came back. So I didn't know about all this women association and everything. And I'm very fortunate to be in this meeting, and I'm very thankful for my boss that introduced me and told me about the link and everything. But I just have one little question. How do you deal with the kind of stigma you get when you get back here? Because I noticed that most of the engineers don't really get along that much well with the architects here, and everything you say, it's like you meet engineers that they tell you what an architect, when you know this is wrong, and you tell them, and they keep on telling you, no, it's right. And you're like, but it's wrong. And I've never really, I don't know how to deal with that. So I would like to ask maybe my seniors, how do you guys deal with all these things?
Neema Marie. Okay. When you say stigma, is it because you think you studied abroad and when you came, they take you as...
No. It's like, yeah, as not part of the RV. And I'm always like, but we're all architects. And even with the engineers, they're always like, whatever you say, it's pointless. So it's like, you just get stuck and you move around.
Maybe, I don't know. I'll give you my experience. I, like Subira, we studied in Strathclyde University, worked in London, came here, and I just focused. Okay. Focused. And you will always find people coming through, maybe saying this or saying that, or you think because or whatnot. Just focus and do the right thing. But at the same time, don't, and I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but try to be part of a team, because architects are architects, whether you've studied here or studied there, we're all architects. So just because I have a British thing doesn't mean it gives me more right to be above somebody else. But I have my right as an architect. If I've been given a job, this is a project and I'm following what the project is all about, and I'm within the mandate of this project management or whatever. So as long as I'm not going outside and bringing sentiments, I think you'll be okay. and just focus. And you will find a lot of challenges because, again, it's still a man's world, and they don't, especially young people, I was young when I got back here, not that young, but I was young. And the same challenges I'm facing, I'm sure Bahati is facing, I'm sure Violet is facing, I'm sure Subira was facing, whether you studied abroad or not, we're all facing those challenges of being a woman in a male-dominated industry. And we just need to focus. And that's what I do. I just focus. And I say, if I'm the project manager or the project architect, I have seen this, and this says this, it is wrong, it is wrong. Stand on your feet, because if you have a contract with your client or whatever, you have the right to say, and it has to be properly said, it has to be, you don't just go there and start, but you have to be certain, if this is wrong, it's wrong. Stand with that. It is wrong, it is wrong. And stand with the fact and keep on focusing, and don't make it take you backwards. If something happens, words are said, just brush them off. So much will be said, and just keep on focusing on your profession. As long as you're professional, I think you'll be fine.
All right, Paulina, please ask your question.
Dr. Vicky?
Yes, Magdalena.
Apologies for interjecting. I just needed to add something to what Architect Nuru said, if I may, to Neema.
I'll give you 1 minute. Go ahead.
Yes, I get your drift, because we are similar in a way, and it's good to see you, by the way. It has been a while. And I will tell you this, nobody tests your inner gangster as engineers do sometimes. Mm-hmm. So do your homework, do your due diligence, even if it's not your profession, because someone spent 4 years to study this, but at least know the basics. Once you know the basics, you have a ground for discussion, so they won't run over you or just try to overrule everything you say. So despite the fact you have to know, you are the project manager, what I say goes sometimes, but at least know the basics of what their work is. And then from there, you can start maybe questioning and asking them and letting them elaborate your work without them trying to overrule you and try to test you. Because they'll always do, trust me. It's construction. Everybody will test anybody. So I think take your time to learn other professions that you have to work with briefly, just a little bit, just get to know them, and then you give yourself a chance or a platform to start communicating with them. Because now you have terms or things that you can actually understand each other, and not just them discussing and you just standing there like, what the hell are they talking about? I think that just do your due diligence as well. I think it helps to build your confidence too.
Okay, thanks, Magdalena. Thanks for that. And Pauline, your turn.
Okay, thank you. My name is Pauline, and I am a graduate quantity surveyor. So I have, it's not a question, but maybe a concern. And me as a young quantity surveyor who has just graduated, I've been looking around and wanting to see women who are quantity surveyors and inspirational, just like how I see so many architects through this platform are very inspirational. They have done a lot. So I've been wondering, are there any women QS who are just like these women architects who are doing so much? So maybe I should ask Dr. Vicky and Bahati in the next session to at least find some of inspirational women QS who can also participate in this discussion and tell us their experiences, or is it the concern that Architect Nuru said that it's they're not visible? Is it that they're not visible? Are they, maybe they're there, but they're not visible. We cannot see them. Yes, that's my concern. So maybe next time, the next session, Dr. Vicky, can you bring us a QS woman who is also inspirational and has done a lot and all that? Because even when I shared this poster to my friends, they were like, why are they only architects? I mean, and there are QSs who are also women who are also inspirational, I don't know, directors of companies and I don't know, such stuff. Yes, that's all.
All right, thank you, Pauline. We'll take note of that. And like I said, this program involves a number of professions beyond architects. And previous dialogues, we had urban planners, we had architects, we had quantity surveyors as well. I don't know if you participated in any of the previous ones. And the next dialogue next month, we plan to have engineers in place. So we'll take note of that and try to mix so we can all feel like this is our program altogether. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
I see your hand.
Hi, everyone. First and foremost, I'm super excited to see the 4 women in this panelist because they motivated us to get through our architecture degree when we started. And I can speak definitely on behalf of Bahati. I remember we were the 10 women and we were all nervous, and Nuru and Vicky and Spira and each one of you and Isabella. So I'm very happy and excited. I just have a point that I wanted to raise, rather more of like a flag and a light, that with the topic in regards of running an architectural company and being a partner. I'm in a situation, or I'm lucky that the company I worked for before I went for my studies actually was decided to open up their company to management roles, basically to become a shareholder and a director in the company. And this was the initial goal of the company. However, as time went on, together with the push of the architects who were there at that time, they said, hi guys, we would like to take on this role, what is available? And they opened it up, and it took a series of discussions back and forth, and now we are 2 of us. So the company is APC with Dakumik. I'm sure some of you know this, and this has been really, for me, enlightening, because it's very difficult to start a company from scratch, right? And when you have people who already have the experience and you get along together, it's a possibility to try. So I just wanted to raise that up as a flag, and that it's very, very possible. And it is in our context here in Tanzania to encourage everyone. And the question I had to the amazing women is, how do you deal with the doubt when it creeps in this position, especially as women as well and in the architectural field?
Thank you, Comfort. Yeah, that's to, like Nuru said before as well, when you go for internship somewhere, just work at your best, and then people will call you back to continue working or be a partner and things like that. So it's great to hear that. Hongera san. So maybe the question that I've raised, I don't know, we haven't heard from Isabella for a while. Maybe I'll give that to Isabella to respond.
I don't know if it's a good person to answer that. But perhaps the question could be, how do you end a project and being able to deliver while you are mother or that? I think the thing here is time management. Manage your time well, and then do delegate. That's it. That's what I'm doing. I delegate, manage my time well, so that I can get too much involved in the project and forget about my family, forget about other things in life that I'm supposed to do. But everything before that.
Okay, maybe I don't know, Violet, so if you want to add to that, or Ira, either of you. How do you deal with doubts in your workplace?
Wait for Violet to unmute. Maybe I can respond. yeah, I think the doubt, yeah, as humans, you will find challenging situations and you will have doubt. But I think you need to know why you became an architect and find your passion and remember what gives you joy in the profession. I think one advice that I got when I was being mentored by a very shrewd business woman, they said that for professional women, it is very important to select your partner well. And by partner, they meant both professional partner, but also life partner. Because there is no question that when you start having a family, when you're starting to juggle things, that you will have those doubts. You will be spending, sleepless nights working on projects, and yet you have family commitments and things like that. If you have a partner that is not encouraging and supportive, you will easily drop out. Those doubts are going to be there. So I think as young people, those people who are young and you're not yet married, select that partner wisely. Somebody who is going to be your right-hand person. When you are weak, they're going to be strong. They're going to step in when you can't, and they're going to give you reason to keep going and becoming the professional that you need to be.
Thanks, Subira. Maybe we hear last question from Hilda.
Good evening to everyone and congratulations. I really appreciate the dialogue. I'm Hilda Gambuna, an irrigation and water resources engineer working at Kagera Sugar. Really, I appreciate and I learned a lot. Actually, it is just a concern, not a question, but I can just say one thing. From even other speakers and others who raised some of the questions, like other professions in this dialogue, why only architects and so, but really even maybe an agri-oriented woman or any other field can even participate in this and learn a lot. Like really in my daily works and activities, since it is engineering oriented works, I have learned a lot. So I just appreciate and request that if there is time, it can even be twice per month, not only once per month, and invite some of other fields, senior women who has got more experience in this industry, even the juniors, to share their experience or that way. So I just appreciate and I'm grateful to be part of this dialogue this evening. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much, Hilda. I think, like I said earlier, this is the 7th one. We'll keep on doing, and we're taking that as, we note that, and then we'll take care of that in our next dialogues. We also had our mentees at some point leading the discussion in this. So we'll do our best to mix different professions in the construction industry. We have taken a lot more of your time, more than 30 minutes more. So I think it's the time we close. And we want to thank all our panelists today. This was, I would say, it was amazing. I don't have good words to thank you guys for being here, for sharing your stories, and for opening up our eyes in so many ways. And we'll keep in touch with you guys to be part of the mentoring program, because next cycle we want more mentors and mentors from outside Tanzania, because we also believe, like you architects have worked in different countries and you're now based in different countries as well. It will be best for our students also to learn from you and how you do things where you are. And we believe that will the network that you're going to create with them, it will help them to stay in this profession. And maybe in few years to come, we will be able to say now in the construction industry is 50-50 women, men, and not like male dominated fields. So that's what we hope. And for the participants, thank you so much for logging in and being patient with us because we took more of your time. Maybe we'll consider next time to say instead of 2 hours, maybe to be 3 hours until we get tired. But we really do appreciate for logging in. And this program is sponsored by Simba Cement. I don't know if the sponsors are here, but we also want to thank Simba Cement for sponsoring this program for 1 year. And they've been allowing us to do what we're doing throughout the year for this program. Maybe before we log out, I wanted for all of us to take a group picture. So we'll do a screenshot and then I'll share with you guys. So
And
you who have turned off your videos, if you're okay with you, if you want to turn it on, we take a picture and then we can say goodbye to that.
And to add on to that, okay, we would like to thank you because Dr. Victoria said that already, but then I wanted to like encourage more women. You know, women empowerment starts by getting together. You know, we have to get together, please. Like whenever you hear any congregation or any union, please let us get together and then we'll be empowering each other. Thank you. Let's proceed with our group photo then.
All right, smiles. I'll be the camera woman. Another one. Let's see, we have 2 panels. All right, thank you so much, all of you, and we'll keep in touch. Stay tuned for the next dialogue. We'll hear from us through social media and our websites. Thank you.